They called her wild. Too wild to tame, too untamed to trust, too fierce to ever belong anywhere near townfolk. Her name was Nayeli, an Apache girl with eyes as sharp as a hawk's and a spirit that refused to bow. Ever since the cavalry raided her camp and scattered her family, she wandered near the borders of Dust Creek, living on whatever she could hunt, sleeping beneath the stars. Folks whispered she was more animal than human. Children hid behind their mothers when she came close. Men warned each other to keep their rifles close, but one man didn't listen. Caleb Ward, the lonely rancher of Dust Creek, had lived alone for years, out on a spread where the wind was his only conversation partner and the horses his only company. His wife had died long ago. His brothers had moved east. Caleb had grown quiet, watchful, gentle in a way that made people underestimate the storms he carried inside. He first saw Nayeli at the watering hole beside his ranch, barefoot, wrapped in deer hide, hair tangled from wind and freedom. She bent low to drink when one of Caleb's colts snorted. Instead of running, she stood, calm as dusk, and reached her hand toward the nervous horse. Caleb watched from a distance, amazed as the wild creature allowed her to touch its muzzle, something even he couldn't do without gentle coaxing. The next day she came again, and the next. Each time she brought no danger, only silence, grace, and an invisible weight of loneliness that matched Caleb's own. He noticed she winced when she stepped, her left foot swollen, probably from a thorn or rock cut. When she tried to hide her limp, Caleb finally stepped forward. "You're hurt," he said softly so he wouldn't scare her. Her eyes flicked to his face, fierce and uncertain. She didn't speak. Caleb set down a small bundle, bread, dried jerky, a leather water pouch. Then he stepped back. "Take it. No harm." She hesitated, then took the bundle like a wolf taking food from an open hand, ready to flee, ready to bite, ready to trust if she must. That night, Caleb couldn't sleep. Something in her eyes, fear wrapped in defiance, stayed with him. She wasn't wild by nature. She was wild because the world forced her to survive alone. The next morning, he made a decision. He saddled up his calmest mare, a gentle brown horse named Willow. If that Apache girl needed anything, it was trust. And trust, he thought, often begins with a horse. When Nayeli returned to the watering hole, she froze at the sight of Caleb leading Willow toward her. He didn't speak. He simply held out the reins. Nayeli's breath caught. No one had ever given her anything except warnings and fear. She stepped forward slowly, her fingers trembling as they brushed Willow's warm neck. "For you," Caleb said quietly. And the world shifted. A wild girl, a lonely rancher, and a horse that would bind their fates forever. For a long moment, Nayeli didn't move. The breeze whispered through the grass, carrying the scent of sage and dust. She kept her hand on Willow's neck, as if confirming this wasn't a trick, wasn't bait, wasn't danger disguised as kindness. Caleb could see her confusion, even fear. She wasn't used to gentle things. "You can ride her," he said softly. Nayeli blinked, her dark lashes heavy with uncertainty. She glanced at Caleb, then at the saddle, then back at him. Finally, she shook her head and stepped away, almost shamed by the offer. "You don't have to be afraid," he reassured. Her jaw tightened, not in fear, but pride. She wasn't scared. She was unsure how to accept something she'd never been given. Caleb held the reins a little closer. "She listens. She's patient, just like you." Those words did something. Nayeli inhaled shakily. She reached again for Willow, running her hand through the mane, letting the horse's warmth steady her. Caleb waited, hands loose, voice quiet. Then, slowly, cautiously, Nayeli put her foot in the stirrup. Caleb stepped back to give her space, but deep down he braced for her to fall or panic. Instead, she moved like a shadow, like she had done this all her life, like she was born for it. She swung herself into the saddle with the grace of a mountain cat. Willow shifted beneath her, sensing her rider, but Nayeli sat firm, spine straight, eyes fixed on the horizon. Caleb almost forgot to breathe. Without a word, she nudged the horse forward, and Willow responded instantly. They surged across the field, girl and horse melting into one fluid shape against the wind. Nayeli's hair streamed behind her like a dark banner. Her arms moved instinctively with Willow's rhythm. She guided the horse not with force but with feeling, a silent conversation between two creatures who understood freedom far better than any human. Caleb watched, stunned. This wasn't riding. This was flying. People in Dust Creek had called her wild. But what Caleb saw now wasn't wildness, it was mastery, instinct, raw and beautiful power. When she finally circled back, breathless, cheeks flushed, she looked down at Caleb as if seeing him for the first time. "You," she whispered, voice breaking through for the first time, lightly accented. "You trust me." "I do," Caleb said simply. Her throat tightened. No one had trusted her since her family vanished. She felt the truth like a wound healing from the inside out. Suddenly, Willow pawed the ground impatiently. Nayeli smiled, a small, fragile thing, and offered Caleb the reins. "You ride," she insisted softly. "No." Caleb shook his head with a warm grin. "She's yours." Nayeli froze. The gift was too big, too heavy. But Caleb meant it, and for the first time in months, she felt not like a ghost wandering the edge of civilization, but like a girl who was seen. From that day on, Nayeli stayed near Caleb's ranch, not because he asked her to, but because Willow led her there every morning, nickering softly as if calling her home. She began helping with chores, collecting firewood, mending fences, tending horses with a natural gift that amazed Caleb each time. Still, she never stayed in the house. She slept outside beneath the stars, close to Willow, like she needed the open sky above her to breathe. Caleb didn't push her, but he watched her, watched the way she flinched at sudden noises, how she scanned the tree line before eating, how she froze whenever she heard riders in the distance. Whoever had torn her world apart had left invisible scars deeper than anyone could see. One cold evening, as the sun bled red behind the hills, Caleb found her sitting near the horse corral, clutching a small carved wooden feather. Tears glistened on her cheeks. He approached slowly. "Bad memories?" She didn't answer, but she didn't run either. "My people," she whispered at last. "Gone, all gone." Caleb sat beside her on the dirt. "I'm sorry. They say I'm wild." She swallowed. "I am alone." "You're not alone anymore," he said gently. "Not while I'm here." She looked at him, searching his face for lies. She found none. A gunshot suddenly cracked across the valley. Nayeli leapt to her feet instantly, panic flashing through her eyes. "It's okay," Caleb said, rising quickly. "Probably hunters." But it wasn't. Ben Harper, the loudest man in Dust Creek and the biggest critic of Caleb's kindness, rode toward them with two others. He stopped at the fence, sneer carved into his face. "Heard you've been keeping that Apache girl," Ben shouted. "Town don't want her here. Savage like that's trouble." Nayeli stepped back, trembling. Caleb moved in front of her. "She's harmed no one," Caleb said firmly. Ben spat. "Don't matter. Folks are scared. We're taking her in." "No," Caleb growled. "You're not." Ben reached for his rifle. Before Caleb could react, Nayeli whistled. A sharp, fierce sound. Willow charged. The mare slammed into Ben's horse, sending the man tumbling into the dirt. His rifle fired into the sky. Chaos erupted. The other two fled in terror as Willow reared, defending her rider with unshakable loyalty. Caleb stared in awe as Nayeli stepped forward, placing a calming hand on Willow's neck. The horse quieted instantly. Ben scrambled backward, white as a sheet. She's crazy. No, Caleb said coldly. She's brave. Braver than any of you. Ben fled without another word. Silence settled. Nayeli stood trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of finally being defended. Caleb stepped closer. You're safe with me. I promise. Her eyes softened. Slowly, so slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Not wild, not dangerous, not alone anymore. Just a girl who had finally found someone who saw her worth. And a rancher who realized he had found something he never thought possible again. A future.